Welcome to Tech Smarter. My name is Abby Ritchie. I'm the tech guru here at the Smarter Service. And today's episode is very special. First off, it's sponsored by Leading Age Arizona. Second is that Tech Smarter is a production of the Smarter Service. I want to go ahead and immediately bring my guest on today. We have Mary Furlong joining us. Welcome back to Tech Smarter, Mary. It is an honor to have you here today.
Oh, always great to be here with you, Abby.
And look, we are Team Pink today, so we are obviously aligned, right? I think with Mary, it's either pink or purple. Is that right?
My favorite color, sometimes blue. Yeah.
Sometimes blue. Okay. Well, Mary, I'm so honored that you're here. I've had the opportunity of interviewing you several times over the years. And today we're talking specifically about the upcoming Washington, D.C. Longevity Summit. Would you please introduce this summit to our viewers?
Well, as we know, in January 2026, the boomers turn 80. So big opportunity, right? And we've been doing this summit, which really focuses on longevity and caregiving, a huge market, for about 7 years. And ARP is our lead sponsor. Smarter Service is one of our sponsors. And, you know, if you want to create value, you have to understand the demographics, you have to understand the technology and AI, and you have to understand the regulatory environment. And this conference bring all those stakeholders together. So we just learned that Dr. Oz will be one of our new keynotes. So we're so excited to have that. We also have a great investor panel, which is looking at the climate today. We have a family office investor. We've got Dan Herman of Ziegler. We've got Mel Barsky from Cabby. Got Primetime Partners and Amelia Hay from the AgeTech Collaborative, and Enable Ventures, all important. We have a pitch room. We've got breakfast tables where you can network. There's only room for 220 people at the press club. I think we have about 15 more seats, a couple of exhibits still available, but an A+ group for sure.
It definitely sounds like it. And I want to know, because I was at the Berkeley event and it was wonderful. And I want to know, how does the DC event differ from the Berkeley event?
Well, we've been doing the Venture Summit, which we'll do next June, for 23 years. And we really focus deeply on the investment opportunities, the ecosystem, the role of family offices, early stage, late stage, seed investors. This event started out looking at policy issues related to the 63 million people who are caregiving in the US. But if you just follow, as Dan Herman, we interviewed him yesterday, talks about, you know, the tripping point in senior housing, that from 75 to 85, people are now beginning to make that decision to move into senior housing. There are long waiting lines, there are waiting lists. One senior housing community has 1,000 people on the waiting list. We just learned that Arroyo Memory Care is coming to the conference. Dr. Raj Kalra's community, a market-leading memory care community that's physician-led. And so this conference has more government participation. So we have people who, the head of aging, Michelle Branham for the state of Florida. We have the head of aging at HHS. We have the head of innovation at HHS. We have Greg Olson from the state of New York, who's done 32 deals with startup companies. This focuses a little more on the regulatory environment, how to work with universities, how to work with state governments, and the policy changes. So Richard Louis doing a great session about the regulatory environment and what are the new codes. We're going to have a list of the reimbursement codes for entrepreneurs.
Excellent, excellent. You know, that those are things that we're talking about internally here at the Smarter Service, some of those codes and how we can apply social isolation and wellness to the type of services that we're providing to help put an end to that with older adults. So thank you for sharing that. Out of everything, and in regards to the innovators, what are you most excited about learning more about?
Well, certainly the scaling of companies that are, how do they scale and where are they scaling? Companies like Audion, that's over 100 million, Arizona company, Arizona based in the hearing aid space. But what are the different go-to-market strategies? We have a full day, half day of boot camps on Monday. So what's your go-to-market strategy? How do you drive sales leads with AI? How do you upgrade your executive thought leadership? How do you do PR as a startup company? We've got Jeff Zimmon doing his masterclass in PR. Just an amazing array of boot camps that are very relevant, that we change every 6 months related to the market today. And then there's the research. What are we learning collectively about the research about the customer? We have then, Nancy Lamont and her wonderful panel is going to sketch out what we know today about the caregiving economy, and what we see are the needs of caregivers. If you have a population turning 80, you're going to have multi-generations of caregivers. And what are the kind of policies we can expect support the needs of family caregivers?
Amazing. Mary, if you had to distill down one theme that is central to the summit, what would that be?
I would say vitality, innovation, investment.
What about just one? I'm kidding. Right?
Okay.
Multiple. Obviously, there's multiple themes, right?
Well, I was a part of 4 White House conferences on aging for both the Republicans and the Democrats. And so I watched the policy changes throughout the years. One of the state leaders in aging said to me, "You've never done a conference more important than the one you're doing today, this one next week." And that's because we are at a strategic inflection point related to supporting innovators to make changes that can improve the health outcomes of older people and drive down healthcare costs. So how do we help facilitate innovation? So I don't want to choose the word innovation. I don't want to choose the word regulation. I guess I would say talent. And the reason I say this conference is an orchestra of talent, of people who have seen the needs at the local level, inside senior housing, inside home care. Place for Mom reaches 25 million caregivers. And half those people are using AI to find care. So what are the trends in AI? What are the trends in, who are the market leaders driving the innovation in Arkansas, in New York, in Florida? And then who are these entrepreneurs that are partnering with Carnegie Mellon and George Mason? And how are they de-risking investments by partnering more closely around the needs? So we saw last week with Heather Nowacki of AARP that in the new research they've done, that loneliness is not 35%, it's 40%. And so how do we look at new solutions? You're right with the Smarter Service to look at some of the innovations around social isolation. I think I've been at this for 35 plus years. How do we drive innovation faster? How do we move the needle? I mean, the time is now for this to happen. And I'm just privileged to be a part of it. I'm a professor and an entrepreneur, so I'm all about learning and loving what I do. And we just bring the most talented people together that are it's an orchestra of talent.
It really is. In fact, our CEO, Terry Dry, is speaking on one of the panels, and I wanted to ask you about that. So that panel addresses the critical hurdles of adoption and scalability for new age tech solutions. What would you say is one of the most significant non-financial barriers that's preventing cutting edge age tech from entering and scaling the marketplace?
I think it's training. I think that there's going to be regulatory support for caregiver training. I think large corporations like Best Buy that may sell a lot of technology, but not necessarily pair together the health technology with other technologies as they get into the home. So what you and Terry have done with the Smarter Service is really provide the right solution at the right time inside senior housing. And I love that Terry's comment about the average person coming into senior housing is coming in with 9 devices. You better have good food. You better have a light in your senior community, and you better have good tech support, or we're going to go somewhere else. They will go somewhere else. And so that's for those who can get into senior housing. And then there is this affordability gap. And what are we going to do for digital health? I mean, heaven forbid that we have a population that can't access a healthcare portal, not that easy to navigate. And if they don't have digital access because they don't have the technology because they've been downsized, one of the biggest opportunities in the market we'll be looking at next year is the employment of people 55 and up. And, we can't go into applying for a job with a yellow pad anymore. We have to be literate in AI. We have to be computer literate. We have to know how to navigate and work globally with teams. We also have a panel on tariffs. Talk about a hot topic. We've got a great Wall Street Journal reporter, and we have the policy person from the Consumer Technology Association, and we have Ted Fisher from Aegis Innovation talk about an issue that impacts every day. I mean, today we saw a reduction in interest rate. That's a big thing for senior housing. So all of these forces are coming together, and I think longevity really has become an investment thesis. It's become a priority for young people and for older people. So we can all embrace longevity and think about senior housing from the point of view, is this going to be a place that's going to accelerate and facilitate my ability to stay healthy, longer, vital, socially connected, doing purposeful work? I mean, I'm 77. I just got a great doctor's clearance to go to the conference because I feel from dancing on my birthday. Well, we want to dance, we want to prance, we want to live, we want to give back, we want to play, but we also want to contribute. And so I really think that this conference brings all those people together. And the thing about the AgeTech Longevity Network, it's not an industry that keeps secrets from each other. There's a big spirit to share, to open doors, to do networking. And so that spirit carries the day.
I love it. And I want to ask you, because you mentioned earlier there are only about 250 seats available at the conference. Is that right?
Yes, we are videotaping it, and we're trying to think about what do we do afterward with the video. But once we saw so many stakeholders wanting to come, we thought we better go ahead and do the videotaping. If you are an entrepreneur in this space, or you are a leader in home care or senior housing, you should sign up and come, because you're going to get a Rolodex of people. It's not like 12,000 people at a big conference. You can walk across the room and meet with the state director and say, tell me more about the master plan on aging in Maryland. Or I want to work in Florida where 1 in 6 older people live, or listen to Lori Orlov, a gift of a thought leader who has done a new report on AI and the use there in the future. But I think the biggest aha for me is you're talking about my generation. It's my generation that now is turning 80. And yes, I remember when we were on the cover of 17 magazine when we were 17. Well, now we're 77. And so how do we create this vibrant look at the future? There was only one line that got a standing ovation that I recall at one of the White House conferences on aging, which is older people want a vision of the future, not just a memory of the past. And our generation always thought of themselves as stakeholders, making a difference. They wanted to make their mark. And I think in their 4th chapter, they will make their mark. Watch out for more news about the 4th chapter in the year to come. But I really do think you've got a powerhouse group of people coming who want to see a new vision of aging, not just in the US, in Dubai, in Singapore, in Japan, in Korea. In June, we'll focus a little more on global investment in the marketplace. And so now you see longevity as a strand in many, many conferences. But I even heard someone mention the other day, Maddie Dykewell, what if we had a K-12 curriculum that dealt with aging? So how many people, I started this field in building communities because I was inspired by my grandmother. And now that I'm a grandmother, what is that mark going to look like?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Loving the legacy leavers here. Mary, for people who want to find out more about the conference, what's the best way for them?
I think it's Washington Innovation Summit, or go to maryfurlong.com and see a link. Try to sign up for our newsletter so you get the e-blast, and just kind of study every picture in the class picture. It's pretty impressive.
It really is. Mary, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for joining us. And for those who are watching us after the fact, thank you for your comments and for your participation. And we will see you all right back here next week for another episode of Tech Smarter. Goodbye.
Thanks, Abby.